All right, good afternoon. We are here on September 22nd, 2022 in the matter for the petition for admission to the Uniform Certified Public Accountant Examination by Yogami Hugh. This matter is being heard before the California Board of Accountancy, Department of Consumer Affairs, State of California. This is OAH case number 2022-070-870. Board case number SI 2023-3. Will the board members please identify themselves for the record, starting to my right with our president.
Michael Savoy.
Evangeline Ward.
Ariel Pay.
Dan Jacobson.
Carrie Ann Farrell-Hines.
Dee Dee Owens.
Christian Lotta. Nancy Corrigan.
Joe Rosenbaum.
And a quorum of the board is present. My name is Marcy Larson. I'm an administrative law judge with the Office of Administrative Hearings, presiding over the matter this afternoon with the board. The first thing that I need to do, I'll take appearance of the Deputy Attorney General, please.
Good afternoon, Ted Durkar, that's spelled D-R-C-A-R,
Right.
Deputy Attorney General.
And I need to please swear in the interpreter, please. If you would please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that you will, to the best of your skills and judgment, make a true interpretation of the questions asked and the answers given, and that if you will make a true interpretation of any document which requires translation?
I do.
And if you would please sit and make sure your microphone is on, and please state and spell your name.
Name is Kitty Sheck. First name K-I-T-T-Y. Last name S-H-E-K Sheck.
And you are providing Mandarin interpretation, correct?
Yes.
And that is for Ms. Hugh?
Yes.
Okay, so please make sure that everything that's being said today at the hearing is translated into Mandarin for Ms. Hugh.
All
right, and then any answer she provides, you will need to give, and please make sure you give that answer into the microphone. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
All right. We were scheduled to have a court reporter. Court reporter was not available. Do the parties consent to electronic recording of the hearing? Mr. Dakar.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Hugh.
Yes.
All right. So the matter is being electronically recorded. And I just want to confirm, Ms. Hugh, you are representing yourself today. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So this proceeding before the board concerns your petition to be allowed to retake the Unified Certified Public Accounting Examination.
Yes.
You understand that you have the burden of proving to the board that you should be allowed to take the examination again. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right, so the way that the hearing will proceed this afternoon is I will ask Mr. Dakar to present the petition documents first. He will then provide the board members with a brief overview of the history of discipline in this matter. And then Ms. Hugh, you will have an opportunity to testify on your own behalf.
Yes.
The board has the benefit of reviewing the petition package that you've submitted. But if you have anything additionally or things that you want to highlight for the board, you'll have an opportunity to do so during your testimony.
Okay.
After you testify, I'll ask Mr. Dakar if he has any questions for you.
Okay.
And then I will ask the board members if they have any questions for you as well.
Okay.
When Mr. Dakar presents the documents that are before the board, the petition documents, I will ask you if you have any objection to any of those documents.
问其他人有没有什么反对的 ？OK，
You must have a legal basis to object to a document,
法律
but if you have an objection, just please let me know, and you can provide me more explanation as to why you're
这个
objecting.
要告诉法官。OK，
At the end of the hearing, both Mr. Dakar and Ms. Hugh, you may give closing remarks to the board,
就可以做这个结论。OK，
and then the board this afternoon will go into closed section and deliberate. You will not receive a decision today.
会讨论，今天就不会知道这个决定。OK，
During this proceeding, I cannot give any legal advice,
法官不
but if anyone has any questions about the procedures, please ask me, and if I can answer the question, I will.
但可是你有问题，你可以问问题。OK，
All right, Mr. Dakar, I'm going to ask you to just speak one sentence at a time,
这一次
and then allow that sentence to be translated
翻译了给
before you begin with your next sentence. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right, please begin.
I appear on behalf of the people of the state of California
这个
by authority of Business and Professions Code, Section 5110, and Government Code Section 11522 for this hearing on the petition for admission to the Uniform Cpa Examination by Yang Mei Hu.
CPA 的可以准许我再考试。
My role in this hearing is to assist the board members and the judge in fact-finding.
这些 board members 还有法官更加明白。
This role is not adversarial, but is intended to protect the public health, safety, and welfare.
就是这个都是根据这个他们的要求，这个法律。
I am here to ensure the board and your honor have the information you need to make an informed decision.
这个法官的做一个正确的决定。
The board members and the petitioner have been provided with a copy of the same petition packet.
他们都有这个这份内容。
The documents total 32 pages and are marked YH-PET-001 to 32.
他说的那个号码。
The packet includes the notice of hearing at pages 29 to 30,
29到30页，
and the petition is at pages 4 to 7.
4到7，第4到7页。
I would like to mark the packet as exhibit number 1,
他的
and I offer it into evidence.
第一项，
Ms. Hugh, any objection to Exhibit 1, the petition package?
他说有没有反对什么这个政务第一号的 ？No。
Exhibit 1 is admitted.
现在的这个用这个来做证据。
Your Honor, I would now like to provide a summary of this case.
那我
All right, please proceed.
就有这个结论。
This petition arises from different circumstances than the typical board petition.
就是还有其他的这个
Ms. Hu is unlicensed, and her application to take additional CPA exams was denied because of a cheating incident.
所以就被拒绝。
She is petitioning the board for authorization to take the CPA exams again.
就希望可以这个board准许他再去考这个 CPA 考试。
CBA has a regulation that explains when the board can suspend authorization to take the CPA exam.
那他们就是做了这样的决定。
It is Board Rule 8.1, Subdivision D, and it says that authorization to test may be suspended for several reasons.
就有好几个理由可以拒绝他的要求的这个 petition。
One of the reasons is when an applicant has engaged in subversion of the exam.
就是因为考试的这种。
The authorization to test can also be suspended by the board for other good cause. A little background about the CPA exam process for those of you on the board who aren't CPAs and may not be familiar with the process.
就可能已经清楚知道，
There are 4 sections to the Uniform Cpa Exam.
就是这个考试，
The 4 sections are administered separately.
就是分开来。
The exam is developed by the AICPA in connection with NASBA.
他们的这
To become licensed as a CPA, all 4 sections must be passed within an 18-month period.
任何的这个18个月内就是要完全的可以考到，
The exams are administered by Prometric at designated testing
就
sites,
是有那个负责这个监考的。我给你
and passing the exam does not mean that someone becomes a CPA. There's actually 3 elements to becoming a CPA. The 3 E's are education, examination, and experience.
就还有那个经验的什么的也要包括在里边。
We're here today about the examination part, which includes the 4 CPA exam sections plus the ethics exam.
还有这个其他的这个部分。
The facts and circumstances of Ms. Hu's misconduct are described in the first amended statement of issues that's at pages 13 to 14 of your packet.
13、14页这边写的。
While taking the financial accounting and reporting, also called FAR, that's how I'll refer to it, the FAR section of the Uniform Cpa Exam in June 2018, a proctor observed Ms. Hu handling what turned out to be a cheat sheet with accounting formulas pertinent to the exam. Your Honor, I'm a little concerned. I just want to see if we need a break or if we should go on.
All right, Ms. Hu, just let us know if you need a break, please.
No, it's okay.
Thank you.
All right, and I'm just going to remind our interpreter, please, when you're interpreting Ms. Hu's responses, you must do so in the microphone because I can't hear you. I want to make sure our board members can hear you. And then remember, we're recording this as well, so we need to make sure we hear those answers clearly. So Ms. Hughes, she's able to go forward.
可以继续了吗？ Yes.
All right. All right, Mr. Dakar, please continue.
就请他继续。
Examinees for the CPA exam are barred from using or bringing such materials like a crib sheet or notes into the exam room.
笔记啊，什么提及的，这个就是不准许这样做的。
Ms. Hu, when confronted about this, admitted bringing an unauthorized note into the exam room.
带进去，这他们没有准许的。
Prometric reported this incident to the CBA, and in June 2019, board staff determined that Ms. Hu had cheated.
他就是欺骗了。
Ms. Hu's FAR exam result was voided, and she was denied admission to further exams.
他就不准许再可以继续考。
That denial letter is at page 24 of your packet.
24页里边就写清楚了。
Ms. Hu appealed that decision, and the matter was referred to the Attorney General's office for preparation of the statement of issues.
他们的这个 attorney office 去进行。
After the statement of issues was filed, Ms. Hu withdrew her appeal.
做答案之后，
So then in October 2020, your executive officer, Patty Bowers, withdrew the statement of issues.
就是说这个进行怎么样进行？
That made final the voiding of the FAR grade and the denial of Ms. Hu's admission to take the CPA exam.
让他继续去考试。
She was required to wait at least a year before petitioning this board for reinstatement of her examination privilege.
这个是。
If Ms. Hu's petition is granted, she will be able to take the CPA exam sections.
通过的话就可以给他继续考试。
But granting this petition would not mean that she gets a CPA license.
那可是这个就是不可以通过这个。
She would have to pass the
一
exam
定要考过了。
and also meet the experience and education requirements.
经验还有教育方面都要。
If this petition is denied, Ms. Hu would have the opportunity to bring a similar petition again in the future.
就以后还可以继续申请。
Ms. Hu's petition states that she got a bachelor's degree at Jiangsu University in 2006 and a master's degree at University of Laverne in 2012. To give you an overview of some key parts of her petition, at page 5, she explains why she believes the petition should be granted. She says that she has worked hard, struggled, and has repented to God for what she did. She claims that she has learned her lesson. She says that as a parent in the future, she wants to tell her son about how she made a huge mistake, but then turn things around. She hopes to become a CPA, and in doing so, enrich other people's lives and make room for other people in the profession. I'll now explain the burden of proof for this case, which is different from what you're used to for most petitions. As with all petitions, the burden of proof is on the petitioner. I don't have a burden of proof. I'm not a prosecutor. What you will do is evaluate whether Ms. Hu has met her burden of proof. Most petitioners have to prove their entitlement to relief by the standard of clear and convincing evidence. That standard applies to petitions for reinstatement or petitions for reduction of a penalty. Ms. Hu's bid to establish her fitness to take the CPA exams is governed by a lower burden of proof called preponderance of the evidence. A preponderance of the evidence means more likely than not. It is the standard that applies to most civil cases. It is also the standard that my office has to meet when we're trying to prove up a violation in a citation case or in petitions to revoke probation. And it is also the standard of proof a licensed applicant must meet on a statement of issues case after being denied a license. To establish a preponderance, Ms. Hu must present substantial evidence. And to be substantial, the evidence must be reasonable in nature, credible, and of solid value. That concludes my summary of the case. And I will have questions for Ms. Hu.
Ms. Hu, do you wish to testify now?
Yes.
All right, the first thing I need to do is swear you in. If you would please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
All right, please have a seat, and please state and spell your name.
Yongmei Hu, Yongmeihu.
Yongmei Hu, Yongmeihu.
All right, I'm going to ask now that you begin your testimony, please remember you're going to be speaking in Mandarin and the interpreter is going to be translating your testimony into English. So you need to just please speak slowly so she has time to do that.
Okay.
So Ms. Hugh, this is your opportunity to provide any information to the board that you want them to consider for purposes of issuing a decision concerning your petition to be allowed to retake the exam.
你可以说话的机会。Sorry, yes.
我当时准备复习的时候，压力很大，然后。
I was under a lot of pressure at that time, and so at the time of testing.
我写了一些公式 formula 在纸条上。
So I wrote down some of those formula and on the paper. It was done at that spot.
我并没有看，我也没有试图去看。
But I just wrote them down. I didn't even look at them again.
我没有试图去看，我没有突然想看就看，然后我出去的时候。
大声一点。
我就是带了一个纸条，但是我也没有看，然后我出去的时候。
Well, I really don't know how to put it, but at the time, I just had that piece of paper. I wrote down all the equations and formula, but I didn't even look at. There was only one. There was only one formula, and then I didn't even look at that.
我不是要cheating，我没有要cheating，只是不懂，然后就是一种 security， 所以我感觉很。
I just wanted to have this feeling of security that I had that with me, but I didn't even look at it.
我也知道我错了。
I know that was a mistake.
希望他们给我多一次机会吧。
And I hope I get another opportunity just to go through the test.
All right, I'm going to ask Mr. Jakar if he has any questions for you that may remind you of additional things that you want to share with the board. And then I will also, of course, after the board members ask questions, ask you if there's anything else you would like to add.
等一下，你还有机会，如果你有什么要问或者回答的都行。
Mr. Jakar.
Ms. Hu, was your mistake of bringing notes into the CPA exam an unethical thing to do?
那你觉得这个是不道德的事情吗？你做这个，你觉得是道德还是不道德的？ I know it's a mistake. It's unethical.
I believe this board would like to hear from you about why they should now trust you to be ethical if you were to take the exams again.
觉得如果让你再去考试，你会怎么样？就会不会再接欺骗？你就让他们board member听到你清楚说的。请你回答。Interpreter just reminded her to answer the question.
确实是压力很大，然后就是辞了工作，然后全程复习这个课，然后有一个东西我不懂，我就是不懂，然后就写了那个公式，然后就带进去。其实我也不是想看，我并不是说我已经考试考过6、7次都没有过，我知道公式不可能考公式的，你懂吗？考试会都是 case。
At that time, I was very nervous. I was under a lot of pressure, and so I was so nervous that I just needed some kind of security with me. But I already took the test 6 or 7 times, and I failed every single time. And then so I was under so much pressure that I didn't know what I should have done. Well, not really like that.
你跟他们说，我说我已经考过很多次了，我也知道formula不会帮助考试，不可能会帮助这个 exam， 只是帮助我只是帮助我觉得好像我什么都不会，只是我那时候已经辞职了，full-time在学习。
You know, I've taken the test so many times, and the formula, it shouldn't be a test on just the formula alone. At that time, I already stopped working at the full-time university.
No, 我就是说 full-time 全职来复习这个 exam。
I spent full time to work on the exam, to prepare for the exam.
我这人不是那种ethical 的人，我也不是 doing that on purpose 去 cheating。
I really did not intend to cheat on purpose.
I know 这个 formula 不会帮助，不会，反正我也不知道怎么说，人反正给不出来。
Well, I don't say that.
No, she has to interpret whatever you say, Ms.
I really didn't think that the formulas are that important to be an effective accountant, and so I didn't think that alone should be decisive of the outcome of my test.
我知道错了。
I know it's wrong to have done what I did.
Ms. Hu, have you changed since then such that the board ought to trust you now?
那你有没有改过了？你知道，就是他们可以相信你吗？
我知道什么是 rule is rule regulation.
Yes, I've changed. I know that I should not have done that, and I will never do that again.
After the board suspended your authorization to take CPA exams, why did you appeal that determination?
为什么你就是要上诉他们的决定？
我想他们给我多一次机会，给我second chance重新做人吧。
I just wanted a second chance to do it right.
Could you tell us about the work that you have done since you were denied permission to take the CPA exams?
那自从他们拒绝了你去考这个试之后，你做过什么？你自己做了什么？
我有在看心理医生，刚刚被拒绝的时候，我有去看医生，因为我去忧郁，那时候我就是 depressed。
Well, the whole time I was very depressed since that test, so I went to see a medical doctor.
然后我也就是努力工作。
And I also worked very hard.
我也有在学习。
And I also studied to prepare for it.
But specifically, can you tell us about the work that you've been doing have you been working to earn a living? Have you been working in the accounting field?
那就让我们知道你有没有做这个 accounting 方面的去你的生活。
我在CPA office 上班。
Yes, at that time I was working at the CPA office.
现在我在 IRS 上班。
Right now I work at IRS.
What do you do there?
你做什么工作？ Which one? The first one, CPA or the IRS?
Customer service representative.
Customer service representative.
And do you believe you are prepared to take and pass the exams if the board gives you permission to test again.
那如果他们准许你再去考的话，你有没有信心你可以考得通过 ？Yes.
All right, those are all my questions, Your Honor.
我只有这些问题。
I'm going to now ask the board members if they have questions for you, Ms. Hughes, starting to my right with the
有
president.
什么问题？
And if you would just please identify yourself if you have.
Michael Savoy.
Michael
No questions.
没有问题。
Hello, Evangeline Ward. I just have a couple of questions.
他有两个
And
问题
I'm really not sure if I can ask this or not, so if I'm not allowed to ask, please let me know.
我不知道什么我可以问，不可以问，所以让我
Seeing that English is not her first language,
那
when
这
taking the
英文
test,
不是你的
is there any type of assistance to help with translation?
那对你会不会有帮助呢？如果有人替你翻译的话，考试的时候 ？No.
Okay, and also, if I understand right, nothing was taken inside the exam. The paper they give you when you get in there is scratch paper. That's what she used to write a note on.
那就是你有纸给你去做这个 scratch paper 的。
带了一个小纸条，然后我带了一个小纸条，纸条上写了一个 formula， 就是然后我放在那个 keyboard 里面，然后。
I just had a tiny slip of paper with me, and it had a formula on it. It was so tiny, but I never looked at it, although it was sitting on the keyboard.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
他明白了。
This is, excuse me, legal counsel, if I may. Board member, did you need clarification as to if she is able to perform the exam in English?
那要不要？
Correct. I'm just wondering if the test is given in different languages, and if not, is someone there to translate, make sure she understands she cannot take anything in there with her.
更好，或者是对你有帮助。他们之前问的，就问，然后你回答。I don't quite understand the question or what you're asking. 他说。
If I may,
如果
first question,
第一个问题
are you able to proceed with the exam in English?
那如果考英文呢 ？Yes.
Okay. Does that assist you, board member?
就问
Right, because I do understand that, of course, she can do English. She has a master's degree and a bachelor's degree. Very smart. But I'm just curious if someone is there to translate at the moment before you enter the exam to make sure you understand the rules and instructions before you take it. I want to just know if someone explain in her language when you go inside, what you do, don't take nothing with you.
就是考试的对你会不会有帮助？会有帮助。Yes, that should help too.
No questions.
没有问题。
Dan Jacobson, I do have a few questions.
Jacobson 他有几个问题。
Where did the pressure that you were under come from? Was that
你
from
说你的压力很大，是哪来的压力？
就是一直考不过那种。
Because the whole time I was not passing the test.
然后我的同事也在，他们在笑我。
And then my colleagues, they were all laughing at me, teasing me.
Thank you. Then I'm a little confused about
那他有
something.
一点不清楚的。
Did you bring the paper? When did you write down the formula? Before you entered the exam place or after?
你写那个 formula 是你考试之前还是考试的时候 ？Before.
I'm not an accountant.
我不是 accountant.
So I
所以
have to ask
我
this
要问
question.
这个问题。
In order to figure out a problem on the test,
那比如说你考试的时候要解决这个 problem，
Don't you have to write down the formula?
你就是要写下来那个 formula 是吗？
也很多时候是。
Yes, very often that's the case.
So, did the test takers allow people to write down the formula in the test-taking place?
那你考试的时候会不会准许你在考试的时候写下来的那个 formula？
会。
Yes.
Thank you very much.
谢谢。
All right, and then to my left, any questions?
Yes. Carrie Ann Farrell Hine.
Karen,
Thank you for coming in today.
多谢你今天到这来。
I had a couple of questions. The first about your working experience. So, are you working at the same job that you were working at the time that you took the test and this incident occurred?
你现在的工作是考试的时候 ？No.
How has, you mentioned that you were under a lot of pressure and a lot of stress at the time that you took the test and you had this incident happen. Are your circumstances different under your job now than they were at the time that this incident occurred?
当时发生的是不同的，是不是？
是的。现在我在 IRS 工作，人皮包都很 nice。
Yes, it's different because right now I work at IRS and people are very nice.
I want to have a few more questions about your work experience. Are there other reasons besides wanting to make up for your mistake? Are there other reasons why you want to sit for the CPA examination?
除了你要改过你的纠正你的错误，你有没有其他的理由你要再考这个 CPS 的试？
我想教育儿子，想教育我的儿子。
I want to teach my son to educate him. 什么？
让他知道什么，让他知道什么是能做，什么不能做。
So that he would know what one should do or what one should not do. 听不到。So mainly to educate him to figure out what one should do and what one should not do in life.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions that are a little bit different. Have you accessed any kind of service or support to prepare you to take the exam since this incident occurred? Like, have you taken a study course or have you called upon a support network, or have you done anything to prepare you to take the exam again?
我有在上那个 Baker 那个 CPA review。
I took the Baker CPS review.
CPA review
class. The review class.
When did you take that?
什么时候考的？什么时候 take？
大概2018年，18年，一直到19年，我都有自己在看，然后我也。
The whole time from 2018 to 2019, the whole time I was studying the stuff.
Have you taken anything more recently?
最近有没有什么你听过的？
我就没有。
No, not most recently.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question.
最后一个问题。
I appreciate this is hard to talk about and very uncomfortable. But have you talked to any colleagues or friends or family about your struggles to take the exam? And do you have anyone who is you know, either a work friend or someone else who's helping you to prepare for taking the exam again?
可以帮助你，私人的帮助你去考试。No.
Okay. All right. Thank you again for coming. Thanks for answering the questions. I have no more further questions.
我问完了。
Dee Owens, no questions.
他没有问题，他说。
Christian Lotta. I have a few questions. In your petition, you mentioned you learned your lesson. What lesson did you learn?
你已经学到了你的 lesson， 你学到什么了？你因为这一次。
rule is rule. You don't try to break the rule for any reason.
I learned that a rule is a rule, and there's nothing that I should have done to break the rule.
My second question is, being a CPA it's a profession that's full of pressure. And in this instance, the pressure caused you to have a lapse of judgment. So how can we trust if you were to sit for the exam and meet the CPA requirements that the pressures of being a CPA wouldn't cause a future lapse of judgment?
This is legal if I may. This is legal if I may. I need to clarify that the question before the board is whether or not she can take the exam. And so asking if she can perform as a CPA would be a little premature at this point because, again, she'd have to meet the other requirements. So if we can keep the question focused on her ability to take the exam. Thank you.
Okay, I rescind my question. My last question is, in your opinion, what are the most important qualities a CPA should possess?
Again, I'm going to ask that you keep it to the exam.
Okay, no further questions.
Nancy Corrigan, no questions?
Joe Rosenbaum, no questions.
I'm sorry to come back to this. Did I read in the petition that you had already passed 2 parts of this exam?
Yes, I passed 2.
So she had 2 more parts to pass.
Yes.
Was she also aware there's an 18-month requirement to pass all 4 parts?
Yes, I know.
So I know this hadn't come up yet, but I want to make aware. Are she also asking to extend that 18-month period in this petition? Or, from what I understand, she will have to start over again, all 4 parts.
Start all over again.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, any additional questions from board members? No? Mr. Dakar, any additional questions from Ms. Hugh?
No, Your Honor.
Anything else you would like to add, Ms. Hugh?
你有什么你要希望加上去的？
就是确实是错了，我也知道我错了，但是我确实也是无心之错。
I know I made a mistake, but I really did not intend to make that mistake.
我知道错了，我希望他们给我一次机会，我不会再错了。
I hope I get a second chance, and I will not make that same mistake again.
Closing remarks, Mr. Dakar.
Yes, thank you. First, I'd like to clarify about the rules for the exam and the misconduct that occurred here. The rules for the exam provide that nobody's allowed to bring outside material into the testing room. And what was established and reported to the board by Prometric. And what was stated in the statement of issues is this, quote, respondent admitted to bringing an unauthorized note into the testing room on the far portion of the CPA exam, unquote. So what she did was she brought unauthorized notes about the accounting formulas into the exam to help her, and that was strictly prohibited by the rules for the exam.
Hold on, slow down. Yes, okay.
This is cheating, and it is particularly relevant to someone's trustworthiness to take exams. This board has an important gatekeeping role in determining whether someone who cheated on a CPA exam should be permitted to test again. Ms. Hu has the burden to demonstrate to you that it would be in the public interest to allow her to take the CPA exams again. I recommend that you weigh her past unethical conduct against her evidence of reform. The California Supreme Court recommended that rehabilitation be evaluated this way. Has petitioner coupled her acknowledgement of wrongdoing with sustained exemplary conduct over an extended period of time, which may be viewed as a true indication of rehabilitation? Applying that standard to Ms. Hu, it appears that she acknowledges wrongdoing. And with that said, I believe you and Your Honor, you and the board members now have the information that you need to evaluate whether she has rehabilitated and should be trusted to take the exam.
Ms. Hu, any closing remarks to the board?
这个事情以后，我一直有去那个那个 Vita 去 volunteer 帮那些低收入的人做税。
After this event, I volunteered quite a bit of my time to help people with low income or no income to prepare for their tax returns.
Vita， 那个 Vita， 你就说
Writer， 作家是吗？ No, writer. Writer, interpret the things is writer. 是什么？写出来。
Vita.
VITA. TA. VITA.
然后我就帮助 community， 我自己也是对自己一种 relief。
I find it very relieving to also to help out in the community.
我也确实想教育我的儿子。
And of course, I also wanted to educate my son. What one can do and what one should not do in life.
Okay, Mr. Zakar, is the matter submitted for the board's consideration?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Hu, matter submitted to the board?
Yes.
All right, matter submitted. And the record is closed. We are off the record.
那我们今天听完了，就这样子。
All right, thank you, Ms. Yu. You are free to go, and thank you, Ms. Sheck, as well, for providing the interpreter services.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. You want to call the next one? You want to call the next one? I just need 1 minute to...
We have another petition we'd like to call. Small break. 10 minutes. 2:30.
All right, good afternoon. We are on the record. It is September 22nd, 2022, and the matter of the petition for reduction of penalty and reinstatement of restricted area of practice by Sohail, is that correct? Sohail Rabbani. Sohail Rabbani, is it? Rabbani, all right. This matter is being heard before the California Board of Accountancy, Department of Consumer Affairs, State of California. This is OAH case number 2022-070-869, board case number AC-2020-11. Will the board members please identify themselves to the record, starting to my right with our president. President Savoy.
Michael Savoy.
Evangeline Ward.
Ariel Bay.
Dan Jacobson.
Carrie Ann Farrell Hines.
Dee Dee Owens. Christian Latta.
Nancy Corrigan.
Joe Rosenbaum.
We have a quorum present. My name is Marcy Larson. I'm an administrative law judge with the Office of Administrative Hearings, presiding over the matter this afternoon. We have, of course, a quorum present. This matter was scheduled to be recorded by a court reporter. We do not have a court reporter available. Do the parties consent to audio recording, Mr. Dakar?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Yes,
Mr.
Your
Bunny?
Honor.
Yes, all right. And then, Mr. Dakar, if you would please state your appearance for the record.
Yes, good afternoon. Ted Durkar, D-R-C-A-R, appearing on behalf of the people of the state of California by authority of Business and Professions Code Section 5115 and Government Code Section 11522.
Right. And Mr. Rabbani, you are representing yourself this afternoon, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So we are here today, Mr. Rabbani, because you filed a petition with the board. You're seeking a reduction of the penalty of your probation and also to be reinstated to a particular practice area you've been restricted from. The board has the benefit of your petition package. They are concerned with rehabilitation that you've undertaken since the discipline of your license and the reasons for seeking reduction in penalty and reinstatement to the practice area. The way that the hearing will proceed is that Mr. Dakar will address the petition documents. I will ask you if you have any objection to any of those documents, and if you do, just please let me know. And then Mr. Dakar will give the board members a brief overview of the history of discipline in this matter. You will then, Mr. Rabbani, be able to present your case. I will swear you in, and you can provide any testimony you want the board members to consider. I will then ask Mr. Dakar if he has any questions for you, and then I will ask our board members if they have any questions for you. I will make sure that you have a final opportunity to provide any additional testimony that you wish before closing remarks. After the hearing, the board will go into closed session and deliberate. You will receive a written decision sometime in the future. During the proceeding, I cannot give any legal advice, but if you have any questions about the procedures, please let me know. And if I can answer the question, I will. All right, any questions?
No.
All right, Mr. Dakar.
Thank you, Your Honor. The board members and petitioner, Mr. Rabbani, have been provided with a copy of the same petition packet. The documents total 96 pages, and they're marked SR-PET 1 through 96. They include the notice of hearing at pages 92 and 93. The petition and its attachments occupy pages 6 through 58. Page 96 is a supplemental memorandum that you should have all received. I'd like to have this packet, pages 1 through 96, marked as Exhibit 1, and I offer it into evidence.
Any objection, Mr. Rabbani, to Exhibit 1, the petition package?
The only question I have is I don't see the number 96 in the package. I see 95, so if I'm mistaken.
So do you not have, maybe you weren't provided or you didn't print out page 96? I'm looking at 96, it says September 12th, 2022 document.
I have 95.
It was given out today.
Oh, this document was given out today?
No, it came, I believe, last week. What is?
All right, well, we need to make sure. I have the document.
It was additional.
Additional materials we received a few days in the second mail out.
All right, well, we just need to make sure that Mr. Rabbani has a copy of it. Mr. Dakar, do you have an extra copy of page 96?
I've given him one.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, any objection then?
No,
to,
no
right.
objection.
Exhibit 1 is admitted.
Your Honor, I'd now like to provide a summary of the case.
Please proceed.
Sohail Rabbani and Rabbani Inc. Are both petitioning for an early end to their 3-year term of probation that started in June 2020. They are also petitioning to have the board forgive the unpaid portion of the costs and the administrative penalty that are due under their probation, and they're asking to have the practice restriction from performing the test work removed. I'll move into the licensing history for both petitioners. Mr. Rabbani received his CPA certificate in 2004. His license history is at pages 87 to 89 of your packet. Mr. Rabbani is the sole shareholder of the other petitioner, Rabbani Inc., and that corporation received its Certified Public Accountancy Corporation Certificate in 2006. Since 2010, with one exception, Mr. Rabbani failed to renew his CPA license in a timely fashion at each 2-year period because of failure to pay the renewal fees and or not complying with continuing education requirements. The corporation certificate was expired for a long period from October 2016 through September 2020 for not paying the renewal fee. Mr. Rabbani, as I understand it, is not currently licensed as explained in the memo at page 96. Mr. Rabbani's certificate, CPA certificate, once again expired at the end of August for failure to comply with CE requirements. This was because he lacked 4 hours of required ethics training and 2 hours of technical or non-technical continuing education. And I believe he has some documentation about that he's going to present in his case. I'll let him address that. But at any rate, his failure to meet the requirements to renew his license is itself a probation violation because condition 14 of the probation for both petitioners requires them to maintain active license status. There have been other probation violations as well, which I'll detail later. The accusation against Mr. Rabbani and Rabbani Inc. that led to their discipline was filed in December 2019. The causes for discipline, which are stated at pages 81 to 83 of your materials, include practice without a valid permit, failure to comply with peer review requirements, failure to respond to CBA inquiry, false advertising, and failure to complete continuing education. As detailed in the accusation at pages 79 to 81 of your packet, Those charges followed after a serial effort by board staff from 2016 through 2019 to get Mr. Rabbani and his corporation to comply with CE and peer review requirements. His firm completed an attest engagement in 2016, but did not participate in peer review or sign up for it, despite repeated efforts by the board in the 2016 to 2019 time period to get them to do so. Mr. Rabbani did not turn over materials about his firm's 2016 attest engagement, and Mr. Rabbani and his corporation advertised their accounting services on the internet while their licenses were expired. The corporation's certificate expired in 2016, but for years he continued to advertise it on the internet as an active accounting firm. Likewise, Mr. Rabbani had his services advertised on the internet while his license was expired for nearly half a year from late 2018 into early 2019. The accusation was resolved by a stipulation, which this board adopted effective June 2020. The discipline included revocation stayed during 3 years of probation with terms and conditions that included payment of $2,991 in costs, a $5,000 administrative penalty, and a restricted practice order that permanently prohibits them from performing any attest services. This February, while on probation, Mr. Rabbani received a citation for failing to complete 20 hours of continuing education in the first year of his 2-year license renewal period that ended August 31st, 2020. That citation carries a $150 fine, which has not been paid. In addition to being in violation of Condition 14, maintain an active license, Mr. Rabbani and Rabbani Inc. are in violation of 3 other conditions of probation. Condition 2 made the petitioners jointly responsible to pay the $2,991 in costs, but they have not kept up with the payments due. They paid part of it, but paid less than half of the costs. Condition 3, submit quarterly reports. The respondents, or rather, now they are petitioners. Petitioners were recently about 2 months late with their report for the second quarter of 2022. Condition 15 imposed the $5,000 administrative penalty, and they have fallen behind on payments for that obligation and have paid a little less than half of the administrative penalty. Turning to Mr. Rabbani's petition. In the petition at page 7, Mr. Rabbani writes about the reasons for his discipline. He says that first, the corporate license was inadvertently not renewed, and that he has learned to make sure this does not happen again. Then he says that the discipline occurred because he did not do peer review and did not respond to CBA's inquiry letter. He says he will not let these things happen again. In a letter attached to his petition, at page 14 of your packet, Mr. Rabbani explains why he believes the petition should be granted. Mr. Rabbani states, first and foremost, alacrity. I have learned to be responsive quicker. That is to respond immediately to any requests, unquote. He also says that he learned to communicate with the CBA better. Second, he says that the costs and administrative penalty have had a big impact on his finances. He writes that he and his wife have gone without medical insurance recently. And third, he says that as an experienced professional, he should have known better and he needs to be accountable for his actions, and that probation has helped him reflect upon and correct his actions. I need to address the burden of proof just as a reset after the last petition hearing. Petitioners such as Mr. Rabbani seeking to reduce a penalty previously imposed have the burden to prove by clear and convincing evidence that probation should be ended early. and that they be relieved from other requirements in their disciplinary order. Clear and convincing evidence means that the evidence is so clear as to leave no substantial doubt and is sufficiently strong to command the unhesitating assent of every reasonable mind. And that concludes my summary of the case, and once his presentation is done, I will have questions for him.
All right, Mr. Rabbani, it's now your opportunity to testify before the board. The first thing I need to do is swear you in. If you would please stand. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please have a seat, and please state and spell your name.
Sohail Rabbani, S-O-H-E-I-L, last name Rabbani, R-A-B-B as in Bob, A-N as in Nancy, I as in Igloo.
All right, Mr. Rabbani, Mr. Dakar indicated that you brought some additional documents with you. Did you bring copies of those documents?
I did. I don't know if I have enough for all board members, but I can distribute what I've brought with me.
Did you provide a copy to Mr. Dakar?
Yes, I did.
All right, then if you would please just approach me and hand me those documents. Thank you. And then go ahead and have a seat back. And then once you get back to the microphone, I'll have you please explain to me what you've provided. And I'm assuming that the stapled means that these are just extra copies of the same document.
Each staple is one set.
All right. I'm going to just pass some of those around. I know you don't have copies for everyone, but we can share. And so I'm going to mark the packet as it's 2 documents, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I'm going to mark it as Exhibit A, and then if you would please explain what these documents are.
Sure. Part of my rehab was to make sure that I'm up to date with my CPE courses. And when I submitted my license renewal at the end of August, I thought I had completed all my courses. And then subsequently, after it was reviewed, I was told that I'm deficient in 2 areas. One was ethics, which I had previously taken but was applied for a different period. And secondly, another 2-hour course. So in between dealing with September 15th tax deadlines and making sure that I'm taking all my courses, I ended up finishing all my courses by this morning. The ethics for California CPAs, 4 hours, I got that completed. I want to make sure I have that complete before we met today. And another 2-hour course, negotiating skills for CPAs, which is a regular course for 2 hours. So what I was deficient in, I had, I believe, until October 1st or October 10th to submit, and I already submitted that this morning. I sent it in with copies provided here.
All right, Mr. Dakar, any objection to Exhibit A?
No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit A is admitted.
With the completion of these courses, I believe I met all the requirements for my license renewal at the end of August, which was 2 weeks ago. As I said, with September 15th deadlines and having to deal with a lot of tax returns, I wasn't able to complete these courses earlier than what I just submitted. I think my petition, the letter that I submitted, that's on pages, hold on 1 second. That's on pages 13 and 14. Explains my position very clearly. It's hard for me to repeat what I wrote in here because I think it took me time to sit down and actually write this letter to make sure that I'm expressing all my thoughts and all my regrets and everything that I wanted to accomplish. And I believe that during this period, I was able to show that every quarter I was able to meet my CPE requirements and keeping in communication with the board. And I would like that to be a reflection of my good faith and my effort to make sure that I'm up to speed and up to date with all my requirements as a CPA before the board. That's really all I have to say, that I've done my best efforts to make sure that the errors that happened, the mistakes that happened, don't happen again. And I truly regret what happened.
I'm going to ask Mr. Dakar if he has any questions for you, and then I will ask our board members. As I mentioned, I'll make sure that you, if you have anything additional you want to add at the end, you have an opportunity to do so.
Thank you.
Mr. Dakar?
Mr. Ravani, in your petition, you claim that you learned your lesson and will act diligently to take care of your responsibilities. But I want to challenge you on that. Why should the board believe that after you once again let your license expire for failing to meet your CE requirements in time?
When I submitted my report of all the courses that I took, I was under the impression that I'd taken everything and I was meeting the requirements. And as soon as I was notified that I need to cure those defaults, I cured it within a reasonable amount of time, within about 10, 15 days. Within 15 days, despite the challenges I was facing with September 15th deadlines and being up late till like midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning to try and complete clients' returns, because I feel my obligation is to make sure that I do the best I can for my clients. Their need comes before my need. And that's sometimes the mistake I made, that I need to make sure that I take care of my requirements and my obligations as well, just as I do my clients' needs.
You've given some description about your tax practice, but could you give us an overview of what you and your firm do? We have I started my practice back in 2006 when I left a local-sized tax practice partnership in Southern California. I have worked diligently with clients from individuals all the way to multi-billion-dollar public companies, and I was responsible for their tax returns. And that carried a lot of stress, but I was able to meet those challenges during those periods. Most recently, I've been having some challenges with some getting collections from clients and working hard with the clients in delivering their tax returns. I also, in addition to the tax return work I do, I also do consulting on transactional analysis for clients in terms of anything that deals with tax issues or entity selection choice. I have a master's in tax from Golden Gate University while I was working full-time at a small practice, and then while I was working with a big six firm at that time for almost 4 years. During that time, I spent umpteen hours not only working, but also going to school to get my master's in taxation at Golden Gate University, that was a satellite campus in downtown Los Angeles. I expanded my practice to providing forensic accounting and litigation support for a number of years, and since COVID, that really died down because not too many people were meeting and doing needing the litigation support services and expert testimony services for my clients. I also just recently expanded into providing client accounting services, which is in normal, not so beautiful, flowery terms, bookkeeping services to clients. During this period, I'm trying to expand my practice and
the reason I asked to get my attest privileges back again is because I know that sometimes the clients need compilation services. Really, I'm looking to get my privilege back for the purposes of compilation, if my clients need compilation. And I've thought about this vigorously. I have friends who are CPAs that their specialty is doing audits and reviews and compilations. And I'm going to request them to come on board to help me out with any of these type of services if I do provide such services. So I did take the probationary period seriously to think through of what I need to do to be able to provide the right services, to provide correctly and properly services to my clients.
Mr. Ravani, is your firm just you, or do you have employees?
It's me. I hire people on per diem basis as needed, and I've also expanded into having accounting services provided overseas by one of these outsourced service companies.
Have you done anything to prepare yourself for doing a test work again after a lapse in time since you last did it?
I have not, but like I said, I've thought this clearly through. If I do get such projects, I am going to bring in third party to help me out. And in addition, I will take courses necessary to be up to date with the accounting and auditing requirements for the CPE courses.
Those are all the questions I have.
All right, questions now from our board members, starting to my right with our president.
Michael Savoy, thank you for being here. I noticed on your continuing education reporting worksheet, you have 4 hours of A&A. If you really were serious about asking us to lift your practice restriction, I would have thought you might have had to require 24 hours. I know you just said you would go and do it, but for me, having had done it ahead of time would have meant something to me. Is there any reason you're asking for that lifting when you've only done 4 hours in your last renewal period?
Like I said, I don't anticipate getting many requests. If I do get a request, I will take the courses necessary. I do, what I can promise you is that I will take the courses if I do get clients that need compilation work. I don't think, not that I don't think, I'm not going to do reviews or audits again, but at the most I would do is compilation services. Which is,
yeah, I mean, you're putting the cart before the horse. You cannot do it under the present order.
I know that.
So even if you got those clients, you would have to then come back and get your suspension in that regard lifted by proving you've taken the right courses. So just from my perspective, it's, it's something that I believe you should have done ahead of time. No more questions.
May I respond to that, please?
Yes, you may.
I didn't know I was required to take those courses to request for the suspension to be lifted for attest services. I understand that I need to be taking courses if I do decide to do compilation services, but I didn't know it's required right now when I'm not doing compilation services.
All right, additional questions from our board members?
Yes, hi, Evangeline Ward. I have a question, and I'm not a CPA, but I'm just curious. During the time when the license was not renewed, it was in lapse, I think 2016, 2020. During that time, you were not aware that your license was not active, but did you also provide services to the public and collect money for your services with expired license?
I was not aware that my license was suspended, from 2016 to 2020, actually around 2019 when I started talking with the board and the Attorney General's office, I realized the situation, and I cooperated with the Attorney General's office to make sure that I do whatever is required to bring me back to being current.
Yes, so you did see, I'm sorry, see patients, because I'm a hygienist, patients. So at that moment, at the time, during no license, you did actually work and provide services to people and collect money, is what I'm wondering.
Yes, I did, but I did not know that my license was suspended. When I found out, as I said, I cooperated with the Attorney General's office to make sure that I do whatever is necessary to so that I can continue operating properly.
Yes, I understand. Thank you.
Sure.
Ariel Pay. Thank you, Mr. Ravani, for being here. I have a quick question. Well, I have two questions here. One is, what's your definition of accountability?
I'm responsible for my actions.
Okay, thank you. And number two, during your violation, during the compliance and probation, you did have a lapse here, and it seems like you just gapped and didn't follow through with this till the very, very end. Can you help me understand why it took so long?
You're talking about the June
well,
report? Because all reports were submitted timely up until the June 2022 report that had to be submitted by July 10th. Is that the one you're referring to?
Pertaining to the deficient in ethics, 2 hours of technical or non-technical CE license renewal.
As I said, I wasn't aware that I was deficient. As soon as I was notified, which was, I submitted my renewal on August 31st, which was the last day. I received a notification on September 2nd, I think it was, that I'm deficient. And between September 2nd and September 15th, when I had my deadline, I tried to do the work. I tried to take the courses to make sure I've completed the courses. I just was not able to finish it by September 15th. So I started taking the courses over this past weekend, and I tried to finish it, and I finished it as soon as possible. I was provided, I believe, 30 days to cure the delinquency, and I believe I've cured it within the requested time. You're welcome.
Thank you. Dan Jacobson. Is it true that I think it's true, but you tell me if it is that you presented yourself and your corporation as being licensed when it was not? Is that?
Yes, that's true. And I wasn't aware of it until I became aware of it, and I stopped it immediately.
That stopping it include stopping advertising on the internet?
Yes, I stopped the advertising immediately. On LinkedIn, I had my information and I got it removed. I had a website and I removed all that as well.
Thank you. The September 15th deadline, that was
last week.
That was in your order. The deadline that you're talking about is to complete the educational requirements?
No, September 15th deadline is the tax deadline to prepare partnerships and S-corporate tax returns for clients. And I was given until, I believe, October 1st to complete to cure the delinquency. So I was able to get it completed by this morning. And provide that information not only to him, but also I emailed it to the disciplinary board. I'm sorry, the enforcement board, to make sure they have a copy of it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Carrie Ann Farrell Hines, thank you for coming in today, and I just have a couple of questions. So can you talk a little bit about, since striking out on your own with your own practice, can you talk a little bit about like what your efforts have been to manage your practice? You talked about hiring individuals on kind of a contract basis and seeking some support, but who works with you? What kind of support do you have in your office?
Basically, I'm responsible for administration, billings, collections, keeping up with my CPE, and providing services to clients for their tax services. So I do everything, and part of the thing I've been thinking about is that because I have some financial hardship and challenges, it's hard for me to hire someone to help me with the administrative, the non-service providing end. But I've decided that as difficult as it may be, I do need to hire someone that's going to help me with the administrative end, so I can make the practice function better.
Okay, thank you. Have you ever taken any kind of CPs or any other kind of professional development courses around time management or office management or anything like that in the past? Like I noticed in the current CPs that there's not anything listed, but have you done anything in the past?
I have in the past, and actually it's interesting you picked up on that. I'm going to take another time management course as soon as I can find one that's available in the subscription service that I just got again for continuing education.
All right, this is really helpful because we want to know what's going on with you in order for us to sort of evaluate. So in looking at your licensing history, and it was helpful hearing you talk about like what happens in September, these reports that are due in September. But if we're looking back over your licensing history since around 2010, it seems like you kind of struggle with,
I have.
Yeah, with getting your fees paid and getting your CPs completed on time. And there's like often a several months lapse, a period of time. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and help us to understand sort of what's going on with you during each of these periods of time?
Yes. When my probation started, I subscribed to a CPE service, and at that time I determined that every year, for the first year and the second year from now on, I'm going to take 2-hour webinars. And if you notice, I put in about 50 plus hours in my first year in 2021 because I actively planned it out to make sure that I take courses, at least one 2-hour course a week, so I can meet my CPE requirements and my CPE obligations. I was able to do that, and the second year I was able to do it as well. I made a mistake of thinking that the ethics course that I took in the first year counted, but when I spoke with the enforcement department, and they brought it to my attention that that was for one of the probation items that I had to take. That I need to cure it. I cured it within the time frame they allowed me to cure it.
Okay, thank you. And then I just have one more question about, are you involved in any kind of professional groups, or do you do any kind of work, do you provide accounting services for people in your local community, or do you have what's your network look like? What does your community look like?
I have a membership in a networking group because of work and my personal life challenges. We have an adopted baby, and between my wife and I, that takes a lot of our time. And although my wife doesn't work, she also has to take care of her elderly handicapped mother. So I'm left, there are many times that I've had to stay home and take care of the baby because my wife had to go and take her mother to either the doctor or the hospital to make sure that she's okay. So I have a lot of personal challenges, and for me, family comes first. I try and to do whatever I can to make sure that my daughter and my wife are comfortable and happy. And sometimes that makes it very challenging for me to meet all my CPA obligations, but I do my best to try and meet it, just like with the CPE course that I finished this morning. I do the best I can to do the right thing and to make sure that everything's done correctly. I'm not perfect. I'll make mistakes in the future, but what I can promise is I do my best to do the best.
Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that information with us. Thanks for coming.
Sure. Dee Dee Owens, I don't have any questions.
Christian Mata. I just have one question. For your reduction of penalty, in your statement you mentioned general economic events, but you didn't really give any detail as to your specific hardships. So can you give us some insight into that, please?
Like I said, I have some challenges with administrative work. I have to do everything myself, and the thing that is important in order of relevance is to make sure that my clients are serviced first. So, and that goes at the cost of me doing the thing that I should be doing, which is billing my clients and collecting from them at close enough of a time when the services have been delivered. That has been a challenge for me. That's why I said I need to hire an administrative person to help me with that aspect. With that and one of my major clients, before they sold the company, I had a very good relationship with my client, and when I needed to be paid, prior to submitting an invoice, I would get paid. I wouldn't have to wait. Currently, with the new owner, I have to wait weeks and weeks before I get paid for services I've rendered. So that creates a challenge for me, and that has thrown me off of my cash flow, and that caused me to lose insurance for my family for like 3-4 months, and I just was able to renew it because of borrowing money from family. So these are challenging times. I mean, you hear stories that some CPAs are doing great, and well, not all CPAs are doing great. I'm not complaining. Thank God, roof over our head. We're somewhat comfortable, but there's nothing extravagant. It's just making sure that everyone's happy and healthy. That's what I'm trying to do.
One follow-up question. That client that you mentioned, do you happen to know what percentage of your income that client makes up?
Probably about 65-70%.
Thank you. No further questions.
Nancy Corrigan, no questions.
Joe Rosenbaum. I have a question about not your CE, but the report that you did have to file under your probation that was due at the end of June 30. It was due 10 days after that. Is that, I don't think we've discussed that. What was the reasoning behind that being late?
Like I said, I make a very concerted effort to make sure that I submitted all my reports timely within 10 days of each quarter end. For some reason, this fell through the cracks. This was the time when I had to attend to my own health and personal health needs to go for doctors and everything. And during the midst of that and my mother-in-law getting sick and having to go to the hospital, I just dropped the ball. And then I thought I had sent it out because I try and send, like a turnkey, I try and send it every time. Every quarter had gone out on time, except for this last one. And as soon as I was notified by the board, I cured it within a few days and got it submitted in. All I can say is I've calendared it to make sure I don't forget it, so I get reminded of it at the end of each quarter to make sure that it's submitted timely.
Well, okay. Was it because you forgot, or?
Both. I forgot because of my personal family responsibilities that I had to take care of.
Okay. No further questions.
All right. Any additional questions from board members? All right, oh, yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I have a follow-up question about your request to have your penalties reduced, the fines and penalties reduced. You mentioned that one of your main clients comprises about 65% of your practice. Can you talk a little bit more about what your financial circumstances are that you are the basis for you asking for this reduction of penalty?
I'm not sure what you mean by that question.
What's going on with you financially that you can't pay these penalties, these fines and penalties that have accumulated?
Because medical health insurance is costing me about $1,400 to $1,500 every month. Childcare, for our daughter, now at this stage of her life, is costing me about $1,200 a month. I just can't afford to pay these penalties. Either I take care of my daughter and our health insurance, or I have to pay you guys.
Thank you. That's very helpful. It wasn't intended to make you uncomfortable. It really is just it's helpful for us to know some of the facts and have some context for what your circumstances are. So appreciate you answering it.
I did not take it negative.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Mr. Takar, any additional questions from Mr. Rabbani?
No, Your Honor.
All right, anything further, Mr. Rabbani, before closing remarks?
I think I've said everything that I would have said in my closing remarks. You know all the facts.
All right, Mr. Takar, any closing remarks to the board?
Yes, Your Honor. With regard to the question of whether it would be in the public interest to release him from probation early, the 4 probation violations and not taking care of things so that he isn't even currently licensed right now don't speak well to his request to be released from the enhanced supervision of probation. His inability to comply with basic requirements that apply to every CPA, even when he's under the increased scrutiny of probation, shows that probation is providing valuable public protection, that this is someone who should remain under probation. As for his request to be released from the practice restriction, it does not appear that he is well prepared to re-enter that area of practice, nor does he have a particular need at this time for it. He is prospectively hoping to have clients in that field, but it doesn't seem that he has those lined up or that he would be prepared to do the work. So given that this board previously determined he should not be practicing in the area of a test, he does not seem to have met his burden to establish that he's rehabilitated and ready to re-enter that area of practice. As for the request to be released from the payment of costs and the administrative penalty, there is much less concern about the protection of the public interest were you to release him from that. However, there is something to be said for the fact that he agreed to pay these in settlement of the charges that were against him, and he had stipulated that he would honor that obligation. So that is something for you to weigh in that regard. But I believe you now have all the facts and information you need to make a reasoned decision.
Anything in closing, Mr. Rabbani?
What I can state is that, yes, I submitted my renewal application on the last date that it was due, and I thought I had all my courses taken when I submitted it. If I had not taken all the courses, I would have stated in my application, I'm deficient in these areas. And as soon as I found out about the deficiency, I believe I took care of it within a reasonable time. So I think that demonstrates that I'm doing everything I can to make sure that I am compliant and trying to get my work done properly. As to getting reinstated to do a test work, yes, I'm doing it preemptively to have my license back. And as I've stated, I understand if I do have compilation work to do, first, I'm mitigating the risk by hiring people that I know that's their specialty, which is doing audits, reviews, and compilations, to make sure that I don't fall into the trap that I fell before. Second of all, I understand that I need to do peer review if I do take on the client that requires these services. And lastly, I forgot what I was going to say, sorry. I'm just as you're saying that I need to take courses to demonstrate that I am ready to take on clients that will require compilation services, by the same token, I can say if I don't have those clients, although I'm licensed to do it, taking those courses now without having those clients, or procuring those type of clients, then even though I've mitigated the risk by hiring the proper third-party individuals to help me with those kind of services, I think I'm being responsible in doing that, taking that mitigating approach. Second, like I said, if I am going to have those clients, then I will take those courses because it's required. And third, then I'll be subject to the peer review, and make sure that I'm doing it properly. As I stated, the board has been an invaluable, let's say, guiding light to providing these, meeting these requirements. So I know now that if I have these kind of opportunities, I know where to go to get some help to make sure that I'm doing things the right way, if I don't know what it is that I need to do exactly correctly. That's all I have to say.
All right, Mr. Takar, is the matter submitted for the board's consideration?
Yes.
Mr. Rabbani, matter submitted?
Yes.
All right, the matter is submitted and the record is closed. We are off the record. All right, thank you. You're free to go.
Before we go into closed session to deliberate on the two matters and also the other closed session items, I'd like to just handle one more open session item, which is item 14, closing business. This is, if anybody has any agenda items for future meetings, please say so. Raise your hand. Any public comments regarding future board meetings, minutes, items? Moderator, open it up for any other public on future board meeting agenda items.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is open. Instructions are on the screen. If you would like to participate, click on the question mark inside of the square, typically located bottom right corner of your WebEx screen, and type, "I would like to make a comment" in the text field that appears. Make sure it goes to all panelists and hit send. No requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, thank you. At this time, we'll be moving into closed session. Once closed session is completed, the CBA meeting will be adjourned.